8% in July, though that may reflect more people leaving the workforce.
Fox's Ginny Casola. Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren reacted in a statement that President Trump's failing economic agenda is weakening the labor market. But the White House National Economic Council Director Kevin Hassett just told Fox there is good in the report.
So the strength is what we've seen before: construction workers, manufacturing workers, and so on. The weakness in this number were really just two things: government workers and a sort of rebound from all the employment we got from the World Cup, because the World Cup was ending.
A vote may come today for Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche's nomination, and a second Republican senator says she's a no. Lisa Murkowski joins Susan Collins, siding with Democrats opposing giving Blanche the AG job full-time.
Murkowski says, quote, "The country needs an attorney general who will check the worst impulses of this administration. I hope Mr. Blanche is able to achieve that if confirmed, but I simply do not have confidence that will be the case."
Fox's Chandler Painter. If one more Republican senator votes no, Blanche would not be confirmed. A student shot up his school today near Bangkok, Thailand, killing 5 teachers and staffers, 10 people critical condition.
After fatally shooting his grandparents and before killing himself. Police said the shooter, who was 14 years old, fired 26 bullets and was found with 34 additional rounds. According to officials, the gun belonged to the boy's grandfather.
That's Greg Palcott. America's listening to Fox News.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought we'd ever have to use life insurance, but the unexpected happened. With Ethos, signing up was fast and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage. I'm grateful we were prepared.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/term. That's ethos.com/term. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
In a recent survey of 123,000 wireless customers, Pure Talk was the only wireless company to receive 5 stars in every category: coverage, support, value, and data. What else do you need to know? Switch to Pure Talk today and get any plan, including their top shelf unlimited data plan, for just $15 a month for your first 3 months. No contract, no commitment. Dial pound 250, say micro, and let Pure Talk's U.S. customer service team help you make the switch.
The U.S. Senate has unanimously passed bipartisan legislation backed by Delaware Senator Chris Coons that would expand access to bankruptcy protections for families and small businesses. The Bankruptcy Threshold Adjustment Act would permanently restore higher debt limits for Subchapter 5 and Chapter 13 bankruptcies, allowing Americans to qualify for streamlined financial relief. Senator Coons says the bill would make it easier for families and small businesses that are struggling with rising costs to regain their financial footing. That measure now heads to the U.S. House of Representatives. Work on the new Dewey Beach Town Hall, including interior improvements, is continuing to move forward. Elevator installation is now underway, with the town hoping that they'll be operational within the next 3 weeks. Town officials are anticipating moving into their new building in early to mid-September. A beloved coach is being remembered in Lewis. Bill Geppert died of a heart attack earlier this week while he was at a family reunion in Pennsylvania. He spent 20 years coaching the swim team at Cape Henlopen High School. He served as a football coach and more recently coached the golf team. Geppert also taught chemistry, marine science, and robotics. District officials issued a statement saying Gepp was a dedicated and accomplished teacher and a committed coach, and that he made a lasting impact on the students and athletes as well as the community at large. And AAA is reporting that the national average for a gallon of regular gasoline fell 3 cents this past week to $4.06. Crude oil prices are down in the $70 a barrel range amid optimism that the Strait of Hormuz will resume normal operations. Currently, half of the states across America are paying below $4 per gallon on average. Gas prices do typically start to go down this time of year as many schools and universities begin their fall semesters, and fewer people are taking those road trips as compared to earlier in the summer. Here in Delaware, gas price average is $4.07 today, and in Maryland, that average price is $4.15 a gallon. For more on these and other stories, visit talkofdelmarva.com. I'm Stace Keene.
If you're thinking about retiring soon, be sure to tune in to Wise Money with Michael Anderson of Anderson Wealth Management every Saturday morning at 9. Michael Anderson talks about the latest trends, the latest headlines that could impact your retirement. So again, listen Saturday morning
Anderson Wealth Management. Michael Anderson, registered investment advisor, is doing business as Anderson Wealth Management as a registered investment advisor.
Listen up, Delmarva anglers. The Talk of Delmarva Fishing Report, 7 days a week after the 6 a.m., 10 a.m., and 4 p.m. news and sports.
The Talk of Delmarva Fishing Report is brought to you by Complete Tree Care, licensed and insured. Request an estimate at CompleteTreeCareDE.com and Chesapeake Bath and Home Solutions. Employee owned, so every project is personal. Visit ChesapeakeBath.com.
It's time for the Talk of Delmarva Fishing Report with Eric Burnley.
Thursday was another hot August day. Patty at Captain Bones in Odessa recorded the Delaware crappie citation for Lucas Brookings for his 1.1-pound pond on a swim bait. Carl at Taylor Tackle in Seaford had a Delaware crappie citation for Colleen Driscoll, weighing 1.2 pounds and caught on a chatterbait from the Nanticoke River. Smithbait in Lipsick told us croaker and a few 20 to 24-inch striped bass were caught from the fishing pier at Woodland Beach on bloodworms or fish bites. The jetty at Bowers Beach produced croaker and a few flounder. The flounder were caught on live minnows. Dan's Tackle said larger croaker were caught at Broadkill Beach. The Broadkill River gave up croaker and a few flounder. This is Eric Burnley with your Talk of Delmarva Fishing Report.
Broadcasting our Care Center studio. It's your News Talk America on 92.7 WGSD. The Talk of Delmarva.
Your News Talk America Digital Interactive Friday continues. We're streaming video today. You can watch the program at realnewstalk.com. You can also watch the program at Facebook Live. I know many of you prefer watching via Facebook Live. That's fine, as long as you're watching or at least listening to the program. I want to welcome you to the second hour of the program. Our first hour, of course, terrestrial radio. Now we are streaming video, but I want to welcome in one of our favorite panelists, and she has devoted a lot of time to this program, and we're certainly glad that she has, because there's just so much to talk about internationally. Her name is Christine Balling, Senior Vice President for Professional Affiliations at the Institute of World Politics. Christine, the longer these so-called negotiations go on, is this a positive sign for a deal, or does it bring us closer to resumption of military strikes, in your opinion?
It's very difficult to say. If I were a betting man, I don't know. I probably would put the equal amount of chips on red and black. And again, I mean, it's good that the administration is proceeding with caution. Right. Obviously, President Trump is resisting, or as long as he can, getting back into the world of kinetic action, because lives will be lost. So I don't think it's bad. I think that obviously the president's detractors are writing this off as him being weak or waffling. I still think that he's obviously erring on the side of caution, and if possible, a deal can be struck. But I think that everybody knows that is looking less likely with every passing day.
So let me ask you this, and I know there was some rumblings inside the Netanyahu government this week that the president's military leverage is weakening with each passing day. Would you agree with that?
No, I would say not necessarily. I mean, I don't know why, if we were to strike today or a week from today, why a strike a week from today would be weaker. Obviously, Netanyahu and Israel are very, very concerned. It's certainly in their country's interest, they've surmised, to get back with kinetic action. So that might be one of the reasons for that statement. But I don't see how our military posture will be any weaker in the near future. No.
Yesterday, President Trump and members of his administration pushed back against a Washington Post story which suggested that the president and Department of War Secretary Pete Hegseth were at odds over weapons stockpiles. The president saying allegedly at Camp David earlier this week that he felt that he had been misled about the situation with weapon stockpiles. The administration obviously pushing back against the story. What did you think of that report, Christine?
Well, it certainly was unfortunate. And in this day and age, leaks happen far too often. I think
just like the Lincoln reflection pool, right?
Yes, there you go. No, it's terrible. Yeah. So, I mean, the bottom line is that may be true, that may not be true. Obviously, it's not in the national interest for anyone to leak that information. It was specifically about a certain type of long-range missile. Right. I have every confidence that if we're really running low, which would be surprising given how relatively short this engagement has been, but that we're already working to build more. So I wonder again if this is something that was leaked by the president's detractors, because it would be very, very scary if the United States was really compromised in terms of its ability to attack our enemies or defend ourselves.
Or respond, right. Yeah. No, there's no question. I agree. News this morning out of the Middle East that Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and Pakistan are expected to sign a major joint defense agreement later today in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. That's according to reports by Reuters. What are your thoughts? These agreements between Middle Eastern countries, I'm sure, well, Pakistan's not really a Middle Eastern country, but the fact that these three countries are coming together with this sort of joint defense agreement, what does that say to you, Christine?
Says to me that obviously, given what Iran has been doing in the past few months, that these countries are concerned. This is actually very bad news for Iran. I think the more so? Absolutely. And it's actually a very interesting thing because supposedly the agreement will say that an attack on one will be an attack on all, and the other countries will have to respond. Again, this is very familiar. This is Article 5 of NATO.
Right.
And the other thing that's very interesting about this is, of course, Turkey being a part of NATO. Will this be somehow bringing Saudi Arabia and Pakistan sort of vaguely into NATO adjacent? For example, if Turkey were attacked. So it's very interesting, but I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing for the United States and a bad thing for Iran.
I sent you this piece of information that was published by the New York Post this morning. You probably haven't had a chance to read it yet because we were already going into our segment here. But let me just read the headline here. Russia could attack NATO, a NATO allied country, as early as this fall, a U.S. intelligence agency warns. Russian President Vladimir Putin may test the NATO alliance's strength with an attack on an allied country as early as this fall, including a possible land invasion, according to a new U.S. intelligence report. The report on a potential limited assault, which could range from a cyber attack to a military incursion, come as the U.S. deals with a shortage of critical munitions. It would need to respond to such an attack from Russia or China, U.S. officials told the Wall Street Journal. So even if that report of a munitions shortage is inaccurate and the leak damaging to the U.S., we're already seeing posturing by America's enemies. Is that what you see?
Yes. I also see the fact that Russia wants attention again because Ukraine has successfully prevented them from taking over the country. This, in my opinion, is another signal that Russia is concerned that the U.S. Will be even more supportive of Ukraine going forward. That's how I see that. Now, obviously, a cyber attack is very different than a kinetic attack. I'm not sure which country they would hit. Again, I think this is Putin wanting attention, wanting the world to understand that he's not down, he's not out. But it does. I think it is a positive sign in terms of the strength of Ukraine, especially with regard to drone technology. I'd like to think about it this way.
Well, Ukraine hit more oil facilities deep inside Russia overnight today. And we'll talk about that when we get back in our next segment after we take our break, Christine. But a couple of points here from our listener producers. Eric says in the Dial Lounge, brought to you by Meineke doing car care, right? Saudis are afraid of proxy attacks from Iran. I think they've already shown that they aren't concerned that the damage those proxies could do to their oil infrastructure, right, Christine?
Yeah, sure, exactly. The Houthis are threatening to mess with the strait leading into the Red Sea. Yeah, absolutely. Sure. I mean, the truth is the proxies are still a threat. The same goes for Lebanon, by the way.
Right.
I mean, Hezbollah may be down, but it's not out, to reuse that cliche. But yeah, no, it's a legitimate fear, and unfortunately it's a legitimate threat. The Houthis are weakened, but not enough where they wouldn't do damage.
Our listener producer Eric posts in our Dial interactive board, courtesy of Meineke doing car care, right? He said, is Trump worried about a humanitarian crisis if he strikes with respect to Iran? They already have a humanitarian crisis in Iran. It's bad inside the country right now, isn't it?
Yes, and actually it would be a very sadly unique situation because, for example, there would be a crisis, but then would the U.S. have access to help those within Iran's borders? I suspect not.
Christine Bowling is joining us, my friends. We're going to take a break, and then we'll be back to talk about Russia, Ukraine. What is the latest from Cuba? A lot going on, a lot closer to our neck of the woods. We'll talk with Christine about Ukraine and also with what's going on in Cuba. When your News Talk America Digital Interactive Friday continues, please stay with us.
Here's a look at your Delmarva forecast. Ample sunshine expected today with daytime highs approaching 92. Winds out of the southwest, 8 to 15 miles per hour. Partly cloudy skies tonight. Chance of thunderstorms. Lows level off around 76. Mainly sunny skies tomorrow. Slight chance of thunderstorms. High temperatures reach up to 93. I'm meteorologist Paul Trombley from the Talk of Delmarva Weather Center, inland. Right now, 84.
Welcome to the Delmarva Peninsula, and thanks for listening to 92.7 and 98.5. The Talk of Delmarva.
Congrats to Spain on being the 2026 World Cup champions. While the World Cup may be over, FanDuel's Every Goal Plays is still going. Bet on a match and get bonus bets for every goal scored in that match. More goals means more bonus bets, and all you have to do is turn on your token. From the opening whistle to the final kick, let there be goals on FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com to get started now. 21 and over, select state. Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino. 18 and over in D.C., Kentucky, and Wyoming. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or 1-800-MY-RESET. In Connecticut, call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat. In Maryland, visit mdgamblinghelp.org. In Massachusetts, visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 1-800-327-5050. In New York, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. And listen to Orange Slices, sponsored by FanDuel Predicts, wherever you get your podcast.
We keep you warm when it's cold outside. We keep your water hot.
From here, for here, 3 generations of Baker Petroleum, trusted to fuel Kent and Sussex County. For propane, gasoline, and diesel fuel, call 302-645-7000.
You're good to go. You can depend on Baker Petroleum. You're good to go. Views and opinions expressed are those of the hosts, callers, and guests, and not necessarily the staff, management, ownership, advertisers, or sponsors of WGMT. From wind turbines off the Delmarva coast to the gun debate in Dover to the blueprint for Maryland's future in Annapolis, Mike Bradley has you locally covered with all you need to know. Weekday mornings 5 to 9 here on 92.7 and 98.5 WGMT. The best mix of news, talk, and sports. 92.7 and 98.5. The Talk of Delmarva.
Broadcasting Car Care Center Studio is your News Talk America on 92.7 WGMT.
How many times have you been in the shelter thus far since you've been in Kyiv, Dr. Gracefo?
Every night except one. Yeah, Friday night was really bad. Saturday night we were in there briefly. Sunday night I think I didn't go in, and then Monday like heavy bombing started again. And last night it was the worst bombing that has happened since I've been here. And there were actually additional alerts during the time we were in the shelter. Additional alerts saying enhanced threat, enhanced danger and so forth. So, but I'd never seen that before.
Wow. That audio is from Your News Talk America just 2 days ago. Dr. Antonio Gracefo describing what it has been like for him. He's a war correspondent, and he goes to some of the most dangerous places in the world, such as Burma. And he, for the first time, went on Friday, 1 week ago today, to Ukraine, and was describing to us what it's been like. Ukraine, especially the city of Kyiv, is a war zone right now. The people who live there, the Ukrainians themselves, are doing their best to live a normal life in what Dr. Gracefo described to us as a very beautiful European city, but they are being attacked by Vladimir Putin almost on a daily basis. Ukraine, for their part, hit more oil facilities last night deep inside Russian territory. And the fact is that this is going back and forth. But, Christine, at this point, this is the forgotten war right now, isn't it?
Yes. However, I will say Laura Loomer's visit to Ukraine and her interview with the president, I think was very significant when it comes to an information operations perspective. I mean, her visit, regardless of what one thinks of her, was highlighted by President Trump. I think that she, by coming clean, as it were, admitting that she fell for the Russian propaganda, I mean, that's a win for Ukraine. And it underscores the importance of, again, propaganda, information operations, for Americans to understand that we are behind Ukraine. See, this is another thing that I think that Putin was benefiting, as you mentioned, that this is the forgotten war, that all eyes are on Iran. But again, I think her visit in particular was very significant, and I think a big benefit for Ukraine going forward.
What do you think at this point? Obviously, for the first time since Putin has invaded Ukraine, they have really put some hurt on the Russian people. They're feeling this war pretty much for the first time now. They're waiting on long lines for gasoline because their refinery installations, their refinery infrastructure has been severely damaged by Ukrainian drones. There was an attack on a Black Sea beach the other day, which scared the daylights out of a number of Russians who were on the beach enjoying the summer weather. Right now, Putin's got to deal with anxieties within his own country, which, unless you had a son or daughter that was sent off to fight and never came home, and there are millions of those, you pretty much have been going on with life as usual, but not now.
No, and again, very much like Iran, Putin doesn't have to worry too much about the suffering of his own people. It's very, in fact, difficult to talk about the millions he has sent to the slaughter, literally. Yep. So, yeah, again, I think that he's not really going to worry about public opinion, unfortunately. But, going back several months, remember, he had to call up Rocket Man for some troops. The fact that he had to resort to having North Korean soldiers being sent to the slaughter is also an indication that his munitions, his human munitions, as grotesque as that is, have been depleted. But it doesn't take away from the fact that obviously Russia can still do and continues to do great damage in Ukraine. And I very much hope that we are more overt going forward soon in terms of our support, even again, just for the world to know that. We are helping them in a covert way, no doubt. But I think it's important for the world and actually Americans to understand that this administration does support Ukraine.
One of the things that Dr. Grassifel explained to us in graphic detail was that not far from where he was in a shelter, and the shelter is the basements of hotels in Ukraine. That's where they have the bomb shelters for visitors. But he said that when a drone strike happened just a few blocks from where he was, the drone was an Iranian drone, and it was outfitted with North Korean missiles. Talk about that.
Yes, well, that's the thing. One thing that unites the bad guys is to bring down the United States and any of its allies. So that partnership is longstanding and is not a surprise.
That doesn't surprise you, Christine?
No, not at all. Not at all. Again, it's the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So that's a comfortable partnership. And actually, the other thing I'd like to say is that. Please. Going back to our previous discussion is the horrors of the war in Ukraine. The horrors is something that, again, President Trump wants to avoid, I think, at all costs when it comes to considering massive attacks in Iran. I mean, the world has seen this is the reality of war. And I think, again, to his credit, his restraint, he doesn't want another bloodbath on the ground.
I mean, he's not a big proponent of war, and he said that the other day when he was speaking in Las Vegas, that I don't want to kill people. But the reality of war is that if we don't kill the IRGC, they're going to kill us.
Yeah. Well, no, exactly. You know? So, I mean, it's a back and forth, day by day situation, and I think that's one of the reasons that it's taking so long to make a decision. It's just such a weighty decision to make.
No question. No question. He's got a lot of weight on his shoulders. Christine Bolling is joining us, Senior Vice President for Professional Affiliations, the Institute of World Politics. Christine, I'd like to shift our attention to Havana and Cuba, and electricity being a scarce thing in Cuba. Their grid is really, it's non-existent. I mean, it might work for a couple of hours. It shuts down. It's been very hot in the summer. People in Havana are trying to cope. What are your thoughts on the political ramifications of electricity being scarce in Havana right now?
Well, it's very well. Let's put it this way: the Cuban regime, the military, has access to billions of dollars. Okay, there's a holding company. The acronym is pronounced Geisha. The Cuban regime is choosing for its people to suffer. Why? Because they are saying that it's the fault of the United States.
Yeah, it's our fault.
It is suffering by choice, and it's very important for Americans to understand that.
Interesting.
Yes, because
So you think this is going to continue because the regime is getting something out of it in Havana, right?
Yeah, well, what it's getting out of it, and unfortunately, there are those in the United States who are blaming this administration for the suffering in Cuba. What they're getting out of it is a real propaganda win, that the Yankee imperialists, i.e. the United States of America, are allowing Cubans to suffer, to starve, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the price that they're willing to pay for what is a propaganda win.
Let's shift our attention to Spain, if we can. The post-mortem on the invasion at the border in Spain, 100 people killed in the border rush from Morocco. Let's see, there were between 3,000 and 5,000 migrants still there that have not gone home. What has the world learned from what we saw, what took place in the border in Spain? And do you think Europeans will support Europe is for Europeans? What do you think?
It will depend country by country. Even Prime Minister Sanchez he was very much for open borders in Spain. And look, now one sees what that irresponsible, frankly, open border talk has reaped. But the bottom line is, as long as a given country signals that someone can appear on their shores, enter illegally, and will be allowed to stay one way or another, this will not stop. This will keep happening, especially from that region of the world.
Well, we still don't know what the European Union's official position. Well, maybe we do, because what's been going on inside the EU for the better part of 30 years with open borders. Christine Bowling, Senior Vice President for Professional Affiliations. Christine, thank you so much for coming on with us on Digital Interactive Friday. We'll talk to you probably next week.
Wonderful. Always a pleasure, Jake.
All right. Thank you, Christine. We're going to take a break on Your News Talk America Digital Interactive Friday. We'll be back to talk about hiring help to take care of your parents at home. Is it a good idea, or could they be defrauded out of millions of dollars? You don't want to miss this next segment on Your News Talk America. Stay with us.
Here is the rain forecast from the Talk of Delmarva Weather Center. Sunny today with highs tapping out near 89 degrees. And on the water, south-southwest winds 5 to 15 knots, higher gusts possible, seas 2 to 3 feet. The current water temperature is 75 degrees. At Cambridge, high tide 10:58 a.m., low tide 5:29 p.m., high tide 12:09 a.m., and at Rehoboth Beach, low tide 8:48 a.m., high tide 3:32 p.m., low tide 9:59 p.m.
Serving the 302, the 410, the 757 and 609, 92.7 and 98.5, WGMD, the talk of Delmarva.
This WGMD Fox Business Update is brought to you by Sussex Environmental Consultants. For a healthy home, call 302-947-1810.
I'm Elizabeth McDonald, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Stocks are higher. The July employment report was disappointing. The U.S. lost 23,000 jobs last month. However, signs of a cooling job market could keep the Federal Reserve from raising interest rates next month. Wendy's shares are 3.5% higher. The restaurant chain reported weaker sales in the recent quarter, though the company says it is in the process of a turnaround plan. Its former CEO, Bob Wright, is back, and he believes the company can fix Wendy's issues. Boeing shares are flat. The Wall Street Journal says the FAA wants 737 MAX jets inspected for possible cracks in the body of the aircraft. Home builder Dream Finders is buying Beazer Homes. The deal values Beazer at about $2.2 billion, including debt. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Judy Coselda. Invested in you.
You're probably listening to this in your car, so let me ask you, would you drive without insurance? Of course not. So why is your retirement portfolio unprotected? Gold is portfolio insurance. It helps de-risk your savings when markets get unpredictable. Noble Gold Investments has helped thousands of Americans do exactly that, with no high-pressure sales and thousands of 5-star reviews. Visit NobleGoldInvestments.com. That's NobleGoldInvestments.com. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals involves risk. Consult with your tax or financial professional before making any investment decisions.
Center Studio. It's your News Talk America on 92.7 WGMD. The talk of
Delmarva. Your News Talk America Digital Interactive Friday continues as your anchorman, Jake Smith, sits behind the shiny golden microphone here in Digital Suite 2. My friends, the fact of life is that we all get old. We grow old. And some of us need help when we get older. I'm not that far away from that myself. However, if you have parents, perhaps grandparents, and you've got a life to lead, you don't have the opportunity to stay home and take care of them when they need help. So you hire assistants for your parents or grandparents, that they have someone living at home, they're taking care of them and so forth. Well, how can you trust that person that they are being permitted in your parents' home? It's a good question. Here's a story that is going to be of interest to many of us, and it's of interest to me, and perhaps it'll be of interest to you. An elderly couple loses nearly $3 million in an alleged caregiver fraud. A lawsuit claims that major banks, who should have done something to stop it, failed to detect what was going on and did nothing to stop it. Raphael Bernstein, 94 years old. His wife, Jane, is 89 and living with Alzheimer's disease. Their sons, John and Daniel Bernstein, say they are seeking accountability and answers about whether banks are doing enough to protect vulnerable elderly customers from financial exploitation. Raphael Bernstein and Jane Bernstein, were they easy targets? Well, let us ask our next panelist of this day. We welcome him to Your News Talk America. His name is John Bernstein. John is the son of these victims of fraud, Raphael and Jane Bernstein. John, thanks so much for joining us on Your News Talk America. I'm so sorry to hear what has happened, not only to your parents, but to your family. All right, we're going to take a break on Your News Talk America. We will be back here in DS2 in just a moment. Stay with us.
This weather report is sponsored by Bell House Medical, helping you age in place with mobility scooters, devices, and home modifications. Bell House Medical, 302-644-4404.
Here's a look at your Delmarva forecast. Ample sunshine expected today, with daytime highs approaching 92. Winds out of the southwest, 8 to 15 miles per hour. Partly cloudy skies tonight, chance of thunderstorms. Lows level off around 76. Mainly sunny skies tomorrow. Slight chance of thunderstorms. High temperatures reach up to 93. I'm meteorologist Paul Trombley from the Talk of Delmarva Weather Center, inland. Right now, 86.
Families get ready for another school year. We're reminded that the best routines aren't built overnight. They're built by focusing on what matters most. And when it comes to dinner, that starts with quality meat. Get back to the basics with Good Ranchers. Good Ranchers partners with local farmers and ranchers to deliver 100% American meat straight to your door. It's pasture raised, has no antibiotics, and no added hormones. It's a kind of quality you can actually feel good about serving to the people around your table. For a limited time, you can get $50 off your first Good Ranchers order. That means you can build your own box starting as low as $129. Just visit goodranchers.com/clay to get $50 off anything on their site. Remember, that's goodranchers.com/clay for $50 off. You also get double the free meat with every order on top of the $50 off when you start a plan today. Go to goodranchers.com/clay. Switch to American meat. Deliver.
Spell tree in Complete Tree Care.
LAWN Lawn.
What? Spell tree in Complete Tree Care.
LAWN Lawn.
What? Yes, Complete Lawn Care is ready to complete all of your lawn maintenance and landscaping projects, freshening up your landscaping with new mulch, complete spring cleanups, leaf removal, mowing, seeding, sod, and pavers. We are complete. Complete Tree Care and
Complete Lawn Care.
302-947-2273.
Utilities are buried throughout your community. Before you dig, make sure to call 811 or visit delmarva811.com for free utility marking. Every project, every time. It's the law. A message from the Delaware Public Service Commission.
Here's how to listen to WGMD's 98.5 on your electronic device. Simply say, Alexa, open Talk of Delmarva Seaford, and you'll hear all your favorite programming from 98.5. The Talk of Delmarva, on air, online, and streaming.
Broadcasting from the Waikiki Car Care Center studio. It's your News Talk America on 92.7 WGMD. The Talk of Delmarva.
We had a technical issue with John Bernstein. I just spoke with John on the phone. He should be signing on, hopefully, within moments, and we'll get him on to talk about the situation with respect to his parents. They were defrauded out of nearly $3 million because they hired a caregiver who saw an opportunity and took that opportunity. The questions that I have for John when he signs on: how did a caregiver allegedly gain access to nearly $3 million from an elderly couple without triggering bank fraud protections? The question, as far as the banks are concerned, the banks are insured, I think, for this kind of fraud. But why Why didn't they do anything about it? That is a question that I'll have for him when he signs on with us in just a moment. What about fraud monitoring systems as far as the banks are concerned with respect to something like this? Is there a possibility that when you do sign and hire a caregiver to come into your home, that they are insured or bonded? Is that a possibility? That is something that needs to be taken into consideration. Should these people be licensed to be caregivers? And with that, let's see. All right, John Bernstein, I'm being told, in the control room is with us. John, thanks so much. It's a terrible situation. Your parents defrauded out of nearly $3 million in alleged caregiver fraud. Tell us how this happened, and we are going to. How are you going to recover this money from the banks, who certainly have culpability here? John, are you there? Seems like we're still having problems getting John Bernstein on. We'll wait another minute. Are you there, John?
Hi, Jake. Yes, thanks so much for having me on this morning.
All right, so tell us what you obviously needed help for your parents. Your dad's 94, your mom 89 with Alzheimer's disease. You've got a life of your own. Your brother's got a life of his own. You've had to get a caregiver in, but you got a caregiver who took full advantage of your parents. And tell us exactly what happened.
Yeah, thanks. This actually started about 5 years ago. And at that time, my parents were still living somewhat independently. And it was actually my father who hired this person to help out around the house. Somebody that he found at the local public library whose job was to help elderly people with technology. And he had gone in there for some help with some of his technology devices and got to know this person and eventually hired him to come to their house and help out with email and other tasks like that. And over time, he took on more and more duties and eventually was helping them with financial things, bills, and yeah, exactly, right? And so that's how it sort of developed over about a 5-year period.
Now, the banks, I think, had a responsibility to monitor what was going on. They failed. What did the banks respond? What's the bank's response on all this? And aren't they insured against this kind of activity where they should have known and should have done something and did nothing, John? Right.
That's the part that is really kind of the most jaw-dropping about this whole story. The level of fraud and the change in the patterns to my parents' accounts and credit cards was unbelievable. I mean, a blind bat could have detected this. And the fact that not a single call was made to my parents' house about any kind of fraud detection. I mean, if I go one town over to buy a coffee at a different shop than I normally do every morning, my card gets shut down and I get all sorts of text messages and calls asking me if it's really me and that kind of stuff. I mean, in the worst month, my father's credit card, which has a $50,000 credit limit on it, had $324,000 charged on it. And the way this guy was able to do this is he'd make a payment to the card literally every other day that month. And that set off...
He was a pro.
And that set off no alarms at either Chase, where he was charging it, or at Bank of America, where he was moving the money over to make the payments to the card.
Wow. Now, for your part and your brother's part, you had no idea that this was going on.
No, like I said, at that, early on, or 5 years ago, my parents were still living quite independently, and we weren't in their day-to-day business. They were taking care of that themselves. It's once this all got discovered that we realized they needed a lot more help, and now we are helping them quite a bit.
But the damage has already been done, John, right?
Yes, unfortunately, that is the case. And you asked, what the bank's response has been. They have been fighting us tooth and nail, hiring expensive Manhattan lawyers to battle us and trying to scare us off from going after this. And we feel very strongly that they have a lot of culpability, as you said, in this, and that much less levels of fraud get detected regularly by them. So how they miss this is unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, aren't the banks, they're turning over all of our transactions, $600 or more, to the federal government, right? So they couldn't let you know what was going on?
Yeah, it's somebody was asleep at the switch. There's no question about it.
John Bernstein is joining us. He's the son of fraud victims. The victims, Raphael Bernstein, John's dad, his wife Jane, John's mom, 89 years old, living with Alzheimer's disease. They were defrauded out of nearly $3 million by a caregiver who was supposed to be taking care of him. He was taking care of himself and perhaps others. The question is, that caregiver, was he working for someone else? He certainly could have been. We're going to continue our discussion with John Bernstein and find out what you can do to protect yourselves, protect your parents, if you have to bring a caregiver into your own home. That discussion on your News Talk America Digital Interactive Friday continues in just a moment. Stay with us.
Heritage Talk Station, 92.7 WGMD Rehoboth Beach and 98.5 WUSX Seaford. The Talk of Delmarva, WGMD.
I think I can say with experience that as the days go on, I get less able to do things myself, as I am a senior citizen as well. And someday I may have to, or my wife may have to hire someone to come and take care of us. In other words, someone who is going to help us with things around the house, perhaps help us with basic care. Maybe there's someone listening today that doesn't want to put their parent or parents in a home, that they would rather bring a caregiver into the home. Tell us what the dangers are and how we can protect ourselves and protect our parents. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Jake. I guess one of the big takeaways for me from all this experience has been that previous to all of this, I thought of the three institutions involved in this, financial institutions, are American Express, Chase, JP Morgan Chase, and Bank of America. And I think of those as being large, really sophisticated institutions that make all sorts of promises to their customers about fraud protection and cybersecurity. And they failed miserably, all three of them on this. And that was shocking. And so the lesson is you can't rely on these banks to do this for you. You've got to do your own vetting. You've got to make sure you protect yourself because they're not doing it.
Would you recommend, if you're going to bring a caregiver into the home, would you recommend the adult children take responsibility for all finances, that they go through the adult children rather than the parents? Take the checkbooks out of the home, take the credit cards out of the home, or at least if they're going to have credit cards there, at least give the parents credit cards that maybe have a $3,000 credit limit. What are your recommendations, John?
I mean, I think those are great ideas. Sometimes in practice, that's not as easy as it sounds. Oftentimes, elderly people don't want to give these things up, and that can be a huge challenge in and of itself. Even if they're willing to, I think what you just suggested, having checking accounts or credit cards in the house that have limits that are fairly
severe
low.
limits.
Right. So the damage that can be done is contained. That's probably a pretty wise way to go about it.
One of our listener producers, Eric, just asked if either you or your brother had power of attorney.
We did not. We do now. We did not at that time.
And unfortunately, now you're hoping that when you get to court, and if you do get to court, you get in front of a jury, that a jury will understand that banks have some responsibility here, right?
That's exactly it. I mean, honestly, we're a little surprised that these banks, given the culpability that they have here, we're a little surprised they haven't been more willing to settle with us.
Well, that might not mean that they might not want to in the future, but clearly, be careful. If you're going to bring a caregiver into your home, just don't leave the combination to the safe out where the caregiver has access to your parents' finances. I guess that's the biggest recommendation you can make, right, John?
Right. Don't trust these banks to do the promises they made. At least in our case, they failed miserably on.
Yeah. If you're going to have a caregiver come into the home, set it up accordingly, and that is a checking account which you are a co-signer on, that has very low amount. Just keep maybe $1,000, $2,000 in the checking account. Also, credit cards that have a very low credit limit, maybe $2,000, $3,000, something like that. Don't let a caregiver fraudster take your parents' money. It's that simple. John Bernstein, thank you so much for coming on this morning.
Thank you, Jake. I really appreciate
All right.
it.
Good luck to you and your brother and your parents. My friends, we'll be back with more of Your News Talk America in just a moment. We're going to talk about voter integrity in just a moment. Stay with us.
Every person is entitled to 30 fundamental human rights, such as the right to seek a safe place to live, the right to a nationality, freedom to move. And you only need to do one thing to enjoy all 30 of them. Know them. Get your free human rights booklet today. Go to humanrights.com. Know your human rights. Just know your human rights.
When I first had my baby, I get comments all the time about how happy I must be. I remember thinking, I want to be happy. Why don't I feel that way? It was hard to admit that, even to my doctor. But I'm glad I did. She told me it was postpartum depression, and that is very treatable. These days, things are feeling good, and we're both happier about that. Right, little man? I'll take that as a yes. Mental health care works when you make the call. Visit mentalhealthcareworks.org. A message from the American Psychiatric Association Foundation.
We all have someone we love, like the favorite lyric in our favorite song. You can't imagine life without them. Cancer screening tests can help keep the person you love around longer by detecting changes before cancer develops, or catch it early when it may be easier to treat. And many tests are available for free or are covered by insurance. It's time to sound like a broken record. Tell all your friends and family, I love you. Get screened. Visit cancer.org/getscreened to learn more.
When I had my injury, I realized that my home was just not working for me and that it was time to ask for help. Homes for Our Troops is really giving me my life back. It's not just about a home, it's about creating a family and a community that's going to stick with you for the rest of your life.
Homes for Our Troops builds and donates specially adapted custom homes nationwide for severely injured post 9/11 veterans and enables them to rebuild their lives. Join our mission at hfotusa.org.
I will wear a tie every day. I don't have a problem with that. So we'll see what happens in the future. I'm wearing a tie right now, sitting behind the shiny golden microphone. A couple of things that I wanted to mention today, my friends, and that is we don't hear a lot right now about mass deportations. The reason we don't, because the Democrat communists in Washington are doing everything they can to thwart President Trump's promise to deport millions of illegal immigrants from this country. So it's being done, I think, since Markwayne Mullin has taken over as the head of the Department of Homeland Security. It's being done more quietly, more deliberately. This piece of news was reported by Fox this morning, and it focuses on an illegal immigrant operation in Georgia and how 1,200 illegals were rounded up, some of them with very serious criminal backgrounds. Criminal backgrounds here in the United States, not from their home countries. Listen to this.
Giving impunity to folks that are shooting Americans dead in the street. We need to abolish ICE.
Real accountability starts with abolishing ICE, impeaching Kristi Noem, and rethinking how we enforce immigration policy in this country.
Guaranteed pay leave.
Yes.
Abolishing ICE.
Yes.
ICE cannot be reformed. ICE cannot be retrained. ICE has to be abolished.
Well, that's what the Democrat Socialists of America and the Democrat Communists, the sister party of the new party that's in control of the Demcoms, and that is the Democrat Socialists of America. As you know, they want to get rid of ICE. But the reality is something far different, my friends. Here's what's going on right now.
But in Georgia, a massive ICE operation led to the arrest of over 1,200 illegal migrants. Over 700 of them had either been convicted or charged with crimes in the U.S. Take a look at just some of those arrested with criminal histories, including sexual battery, aggravated assault, domestic violence, and cruelty to children.
My friends, these are the people that were brought into this country deliberately by the Biden regime and the Democrat Communist Party. They were brought in here. They were given access to this country, flown around the country in the middle of the night on chartered airliners that you and I paid for. And these were not, as President Trump has said many times, he's been called a racist for saying that, these were not the best citizens coming from their home countries. These are bad people. And perhaps we're getting back to rounding up the most dangerous of the illegals here, and in doing so, deporting them, getting them out of this country, which is where they should be. But they've done damage, my friends. They have committed serious crimes, even crimes against children. But we know how much the Demcoms really love children. They lost 350,000 of them during the 4 years of the Biden regime. Now, some of those children have been located. This week, some of those children have been located. But what do you do with them? How do you get them reunited with their families? The Demcoms have this blood on their hands, my friends, and they're not being held accountable for it. Listen to this.
Here for that Fox and Friends exclusive is the head of ICE's Enforcement and Removal Operations, the ERO division, is Marcos Charles. Marcos, thanks for joining us. Tell us about this Georgia operation and what it netted.
Good morning, Griff. Thanks for having me on the show. Look, as you said, we arrested over 1,200 illegal aliens out in the Atlanta, Georgia area. More than half of those people had criminal histories. And as you said, we're talking about sex crimes, assault and battery, some with DUI convictions, even domestic violence. These individuals needed to be taken off the street, not only because they're criminals, but because they're here illegally in the United States. I'm very proud of the men and women of ICE, ERO, that are out there on the streets every day making these arrests and keeping our community safe. It was a tremendous success out in the Georgia area.
Now, can we do this in other states, this kind of operation? Well, not in blue states, my friends. Remember, I call them super sanctuaries. They are super sanctuaries. They are not going to cooperate with ICE. And we've seen in California, we've seen in Minnesota, we've seen in places like Massachusetts, in Maine, where the Demcoms have successfully stopped mass deportations, my friends, through these super sanctuaries that they have created. Now, Big Cat, our producer in the Dial Lounge, courtesy of Meineke doing car care right, says Trump should appoint Greg Bavino. He's the real deal. Greg Bavino, Big Cat, rubbed someone in the Trump administration the wrong way. And that's why he was forced to retire. He's not coming back, sadly. I think he did a good job. I think he was very strong with respect to ICE operations, strong law enforcement officer. But at a time where the Demcoms were making it difficult for the administration for mass deportations, there's no question that Greg Bavino did not portray the softer, gentler side of mass deportations that the administration needed at this time, and that's why he was forced out.
The majority of these arrests were in the Atlanta suburbs and city, but these arrests were going on throughout the state. And not just that, I mean, this one operation, as I said, was a great success. However, every day the men and women of ICRO were out in the streets across the nation.
So I think we're going to see more of these kind of targeted, 1,000 arrests, 1,200, 1,500, et cetera. And that's going to be the mass deportations.
92.7 WGMD Rehoboth Beach and 98.5 WUSX Seaford, the talk of Delmarva.
A thumbs up for Todd Blanche. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, from Republican Senator Bill Cassidy, who just said he'll put aside his differences with the president and vote yes to confirm the acting attorney general will be full-time AG.
Mr. Blanche is not perfect, and he will tell you this. But the choice is not between perfection and Mr. Blanche. It is between Mr. Blanche and another acting attorney general who may not run the department effectively under President Trump.
Two other Republican senators say they'll join Democrats voting no. Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins. If one more GOP senator opposes Blanche, the nomination would be rejected at a vote possibly today. That Blanche confirmation, just one item on the Senate's to-do list.
The Senate is on a crash course to complete its work for the summer in the next 24 hours and leave until September. One item they will complete is a bill crafted by the late Lindsey Graham to sanction Russia.
That vote could come this hour. Fox's Chad Pergram also reports from the Capitol.
The Senate also takes a test vote on a bipartisan bill to avoid a government shutdown this fall, but it will not pass the Save America Act. In fact, it's unclear if the Senate will even entertain a budget framework which could address election security.
President Trump's pushing that Save America Act, which would also require proof of citizenship and ID to vote. The president won't like this. The appeals court has halted his construction project at the White House ballroom, ruling he needs congressional approval, but that decision's on hold for 2 weeks to allow for a Trump appeal to the Supreme Court. We got an economic update this morning showing jobs were lost last month, a decline of 23,000 instead of the gain of 80,000 expected, and hiring for May and June revised down by 100,000. But White House National Economic Council Director Kevin Hassett tells Fox that this is different than just losses.
If you throw out the World Cup and the government workers, we actually had a number that was about plus 100,000, which is about what we expected given that the unemployment rate went down.
That rate dropped a tenth to 4.1%. America's listening to Fox News.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought we'd ever have to use life insurance, but the unexpected happened. With Ethos, signing up was fast and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage. I'm grateful we were prepared.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/term. That's ethos.com/term. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
In a recent survey of 123,000 wireless customers, Pure Talk was the only wireless company to receive 5 stars in every category: coverage, support, value, and data. What else do you need to know? Switch to Pure Talk today and get any plan, including their top shelf unlimited data plan for just $15 a month for your first 3 months. No contract, no commitment. Dial pound 250, say micro, and let Pure Talk's U.S. customer service team help you make the switch.
It's another day on the water for the White Marlin Open. Thursday, the 4th day of the tournament, started with 2 divisions. No qualifying catches until the Gray Fox out of New Jersey returned to Harbor Island Marina for the 2nd day in a row with what weighed in as a qualifying wahoo. Angler John Wardlaw, Brielle, New Jersey, tells the WMO's Andy Mutzko about reeling in that 69.5-pound fish.
Pretty much suited fishing all day. At 11 o'clock, came up on the flat line, took a little bit of line. Wasn't a long fight, maybe 10 minutes. Got to the boat, they gaffed it, got it in.
Currently, Wardlaw sits at the top of 2 leaderboards with the wahoo on Thursday. And Wednesday's catch, a 179-pound big-eye tuna, that has the top spot in the tuna division. Just 2 days, including today, left to fish in the White Marlin Open. Officially ends when the scales close at 9:15 on Saturday night. Maryland Department of Human Services taking new steps to help residents struggling with food assistance after federal changes last November that led to more than 35,000 Marylanders losing their SNAP benefits. The Moore administration launching a new enrollment dashboard aimed, they say, at tearing down barriers to support. Residents who want to check their eligibility, reapply, or find local food resources can visit the Maryland Benefits website. Construction on the brand-new Dewey Beach Town Hall pushing forward. Interior improvements well underway. Elevator installation officially going on now, and town officials expect the brand-new building to be operational within the next 3 weeks. Planning to move in sometime in early mid-September. U.S. Senate has unanimously passed legislation backed by Senator Chris Coons that would change federal bankruptcy law to make the process easier for people who have to go that route. Bankruptcy Threshold Adjustment Act permanently restores higher debt limits for Subchapter 5 and 13 bankruptcies. Senator Coons and the other backers say the measure would give families and others easier access to financial relief. More on these and other stories, visit talkofdelmarva.com.
Craving wings? Head to Wings to Go Long Neck, where flavor meets freshness. Now featuring over 30 sauces and dry rubs. Enjoy traditional or boneless wings, always cooked to order, along with fresh salads and their popular soft-shell crabs. Save room for dessert with new sweet treats like blueberry lemon cake, fried cheesecake, funnel cake, and cream cheese churros.
WGMD, the talk of Delmarva.
Your News Talk America, hour number 3 is underway. Your anchorman, Jake Smith, sitting behind the anchor desk in DS2. My friends, Jewish hatred, and I don't even want to call it anti-Semitism anymore. It is Jewish hatred, and I'm really concerned that this nation is right now in the same place as Berlin, 1938. And our next panelist, and he's been very generous to us with his time in the past, we welcome back Rabbi Michael Barclay, the host of the radio show and podcast, The Rabbi's Table, Dialogue, Not Debate. It's heard on CRN Digital Radio, where he leads bold conversations on religion, freedom, Israel, America, and today's most pressing cultural issues. Rabbi, it is not very difficult to believe that Mamdani lied to voters before the election last year and said, especially to Jewish voters, trust me, I will protect you. That's not what's happening now, and the evidence tells us that hate crimes against Jews are actually ticking up in the New York City area. Your response, sir?
First of all, Jake, thank you for having me on, and thank you for all that you and your audience do for the world. It's really appreciated.
Well, Rabbi, you do a lot too, and you have been a steady voice in America for what is protecting our Jewish citizens from hatred, from violence, from threats. And you know what? You deserve a lot of credit too, Rabbi.
Oh, you're very kind. Hopefully we're defending more than just Jews, but all Americans. And
agreed.
Look, Mamdani, and we've talked about this, is a Muslim first, Muslim second, Muslim third. He is not a socialist. He is a devout jihadi Muslim who hides in socialist, democratic, progressive clothing. We are very much, especially in New York and in Minnesota, parts of Michigan, with El Sayed's victory in the primary.
Right.
We're very much in 1938 Germany.
Yep.
And what people need to understand is that this is not just against the Jews. There's an old saying that the Jews are the canary in the coal mine, that you can predict with perfect accuracy how a nation will do by how they treat their Jewish population. And the reason is actually pretty simple. It's because the Jew is always a minority.
Right.
So if you see how a culture treats its minorities, you can see how it's going to do long term. And what is going on in New York and in many places around the country is despicable and abominable. Sadly, and maybe even sadder than any of it, is that 43% of Jews under the age of 30 in New York City voted for Mamdani, which is...
I still don't understand that. And if you think we're kidding about how Mamdani portrayed himself with respect to Jewish voters before the election, here he is in his own words, Rabbi.
I look forward to being a mayor for every single person that calls this city home. Not just those who voted for me in the Democratic primary, not just those that vote for me in this general election, but all 8.5 million New Yorkers. And that includes Jewish New Yorkers who may have concerns or opposition to the positions that I've shared about Israel and Palestine. Just a few weeks ago, I was on the M57, the slowest bus in New York City. And as I was seated there was a speech therapist who was sitting next to me. She told me that she was Jewish. She said that her daughter was a huge fan, but that she was not yet decided on who she was going to vote for. And she shared to me about her fears in this city, about rising anti-Semitism. And I told her what I will tell New Yorkers today, which is that I will be the mayor who doesn't just protect Jewish New Yorkers, but also celebrates and cherishes them.
Well, his actions don't reflect that. And the statistics, which were in that New York Post article just a couple of days ago, hate crimes soar in New York City under Mamdani. They certainly don't agree with those words, Rabbi.
No, look, he's a fraud. He is. Yep. Remember that the Quran not only permits but obligates non-Muslims to lie, cheat, steal, or kill in order to create a worldwide caliphate of Sharia law. Right. And he's a very devout jihadi Muslim. I'm sure he does want to protect every Jewish citizen of New York City so that he can inflict upon them the Islamic tax. This is, and remember that New York Post article only talks about reported hate crimes.
Right. Yeah. How many of those that go unreported, Rabbi? You're absolutely right.
Right? I mean, so many of these people, especially with younger people, with kids, they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to get involved and say, oh, look what just happened to me. They just sort of want to hide in the corner. That is, especially among the ultra-Orthodox. Many of them are already hesitant. They're scared of another Holocaust. So, we need to be honest. This guy's a bad guy, and it's not just that he hates Jews. He hates America.
Mm-hmm. Yes, agreed.
There's
no question about it. Let's just throw some of the statistics out from that New York Post article, Rabbi, if I may. A startling 9.4% uptick in hate crimes citywide comes even as all 7 major crime categories saw sharp declines across all 5 boroughs, including historic lows for murders and shootings so far this year. However, more than half of hate crimes, 56.9%, that's 57% in my book, Rabbi, were anti-Semitic despite Jewish people making up just 10% of New York City's population. What does it tell you? It tells you that it is on steroids right now, Rabbi.
It's insane. I remember talking with Tommy Robinson on our show.
Oh, okay.
And Tommy pointed out a great statistic about England, that 83%, and remember this correctly, 83% of the violent crimes in England are committed by 7% of the population, which is Muslim, from these jihadi gangs.
Yeah.
And, it's a theological war that's going on, and it's so distressing. And we need to remember something, that as Mandami destroys New York City, and as people leave New York City, and as he destroys it more and more, that's also still the financial capital of our nation. And he's affecting the economy on a national level. We need to remember that.
He could be affecting an international economy as well, Rabbi, because New York City is an international economic powerhouse. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. And I think he does that. Look, the whole theater show that he did about saying that he's going to arrest Bibi Netanyahu, arguably, he did all of that for one purpose, which is to create riots in New York.
Right.
That's the only reason he did it. There was no upside. He knew that wasn't legal, and arguably it's actually treasonous. But he did it to create this theater so that people would get more incensed, there'd be more incendiary talk, and that he could create more riots, because riots are chaos and confusion. Chaos and confusion is a good way to hurt a nation if you can keep causing that. So
absolutely.
He's a bad guy. This is a really bad guy, and we need to wake up that all of these, politicians, El Sayed, Mandami, Tlaib, Omar, these are not people. It's not just that they hate Jews; they hate America, and we better wake up.
They hate what America stands for, Rabbi.
Yeah,
they hate what this country stands for. I have a question that's been posted to our Dial Digital Interactive board for you, Rabbi Barkley, if I may just get to that question from our listener producer 3M. If a Democrat is the president of the U.S., and Yair Golan is the next leader of Israel, what kind of problems could this lead to? Good question, 3M.
Look, I think that part of the problem, God forbid a Democrat becomes the president of the United States, at least where the Democratic Party is now, because it has been entirely taken over by this Bernie Sanders, AOC, Tlaib, Omar wing.
Right.
So hopefully they'll get trounced over and over so that the party goes back to the center.
And you know what, Rabbi, that is possible. There may be something good that comes out of this for the party.
I hope so. Look, Cori Bush was defeated again.
Yeah.
Still by Wesley Bell. So I'm optimistic just by nature. But the dangers are, look, in Israel, like here, there is a far left. Like here, it's sponsored by sources outside of Israel.
Right.
And I just came back from Israel. I just got back about a week and a half ago.
Yes, that's right. You were there.
So it was amazing. So Israel needs to stay focused as well and not let that that movement grow. That movement's incredibly well funded. The anti-Bibi movement is incredibly well funded by foreign sources, specifically Soros and other sources like that. So, God forbid Yesh Lapid becomes prime minister, but I don't think there's a chance of that. So we just need to stay more true to who we are in Israel, in America. We need to stay true to American values and recognize that that's really, these Islamic politicians they hate America, not just Jews.
Rabbi Michael Barclay, there's a link under Rabbi Barclay's bio in my show notes today at realnewstalk.com for his podcast. You want to listen to the Rabbi's podcast. Rabbi Michael Barclay, thank you so much for putting us in the mindset that these people hate America. They hate Jews, but they hate America. Everything that America stands for. And I appreciate your time, Rabbi. God bless you, sir, for all of
you. As well. God bless you, Jake, and your audience and your family, and keep doing the amazing stuff that you do all the time.
You too, Rabbi. We'll be in touch soon, okay?
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you.
All right, my friends, you're listening to Your News Talk America. A very quick break, and then we're going to be back with Don Palmer, who's going to talk to us about election integrity in just a moment. Stay with us.
Thank you.
Right to public assembly, education, freedom of expression, right to privacy. And you only need to do one thing to enjoy all 30 of them. Know them. Get your free human rights booklet today. Go to humanrights.com. Know your human rights. Just know your human rights.
For the midterm elections, but also news on election integrity. There's more and more information coming out with respect to the 2020 election, and boy, this has got to make Rudy Giuliani pretty angry when this report came out yesterday. And we're very pleased to have with us Don Palmer, Senior Legal Fellow for Election Integrity at the Heritage Foundation. Voter files in Arizona's largest county illegally obtained in 2020, records show. Now, that's for Maricopa County, Don. How much, with respect to the so-called funny business of the 2020 election, was focused on Maricopa County? And here we are now getting evidence that 633,000 voter files were extricated by someone. Your thoughts when you heard that story?
Well, I was quite amazed. First of all, that it happened. Number two, that despite open and shut case, both federal and state authorities declined to prosecute. And if you have no deterrence, what stops a hacker from wanting to infiltrate our voter registration databases? And we all know why this didn't come out. We all know why there wasn't a prosecution. They had a political narrative that they wanted to. It was all political. And this is why they didn't prosecute the gentleman that committed this crime. And look, there's various things that happen. We're talking about 600,000 people plus police. We're talking about domestic violence victims. We're talking about confidential registered voters, and we just let the guy get away with it.
There is a story in the Washington Post that prosecutors are struggling to turn voter fraud claims into criminal charges. And the article says very plainly, why is it so difficult to prosecute those who illegally vote in our elections? Why is it, Don, so difficult to prosecute somebody who's illegally voted in America? Seems to me, you just talked about the fact that not having accountability really emboldens people to just do something without any fear of repercussions, right?
Well, I think that, you hear this a lot from prosecutors. They actually want open and shut cases. They want a confession for a lot of voter fraud. But it's because some of our process allows mistakes in the process. And so voters occasionally will make a mistake that looks like fraud. But, this is the primary reason investigators give you. I just think there's just not enough focus. We have too many prosecutors that are afraid to bring a case.
Why? Why do you think, Don? Why are they afraid to bring a case?
I think that maybe they think the voter will have sympathy with the jury. I think it's the other way around. I think that you see this, they don't want to be seen as the big, bad, mean prosecutor in a lot of blue cities. And so they just look the other way. And look, they're not using basic prosecutorial discretion where, look, a prosecution of one or two individuals will prevent this from spreading around the county. It's called deterrence. So what you do is if there are cases that need to be brought, you do that. It doesn't mean all the resources of the prosecutor's office need to be focused on this, but there needs to be some level of deterrence. And so, just getting back to Maricopa County, this is exactly why someone who steals 600,000 registrations, they pilfer it, they exploit the voter registration system, and there's no consequences at all for political reasons.
Don, I've got a couple of questions posted for you on our Dial Interactive board, courtesy of Meineke Doing Car Care Right. And this is from our listener producer, Big Cat. He posts this question for you. Do you agree that we need mass deportations and that all illegals need to go? Deporting all criminals. I think I'm going to put this question back because I don't think, obviously we have illegals voting in the United States. I think that perhaps Big Cat thought that you were a different guest. But this question is for you. Is there any primer of Election Integrity 101 for citizens downloadable on the internet? That comes from our listener producer, Wolf.
Well, I would direct people to the Heritage Election Integrity Scorecard. This has all the best practices and reforms that states are implementing across the country. We rank states in the value of how are they implementing election and voter integrity measures. And I would just go to the Heritage website, and this is what state legislators and secretaries of state, they focus on making sure that their voter rolls are accurate and they have a good process in place for Election Day.
Which states do you believe have made the best strides toward election integrity since 2024?
Well, I think you see a lot with Tennessee. I also think Florida has done a lot. Maybe I'm a little biased, but Florida has multiple options in voting. They've done a great job in sort of leading on these issues and showing the path for other states. But I think folks like Tennessee and Arkansas have made dramatic improvements there at the top of the Election Integrity Scorecard with the Heritage Foundation.
With respect to one of the comments by our listener producer, Eric, wimpy prosecutors, this is what the Washington Post story said. Prosecutors typically assume a jury would not convict someone if they accidentally or mistakenly cast a ballot. How can you mistakenly or accidentally cast a ballot? You go to the polling place for the intention, Don, of voting. You know you're not supposed to vote if you're not an American citizen. And how can that be a mistake? Can you please tell me?
Well, I've seen it all. I've seen voters make mistakes. But look, it's really hard to defraud the system, but folks do. And so I think it's just absolutely necessary. It's not only prosecutors that are wimpy. That's one problem. The other problem is you have rogue prosecutors who just refuse to prosecute the issue. And so that's a bigger problem in America, and one that we have to focus and allow our district attorneys and the county district attorneys that this is an important issue, that, look, when there's voter fraud, you need to stamp it out. Otherwise, it will spread, and then you'll have real problems on your hands.
In your opinion, are the penalties for voter fraud in America, are they due for perhaps re-examination to see if they are stringent enough?
I think that we need to enhance those penalties. I mean, a lot of prosecutors might disagree with it. They see voter fraud or this type of issue as just another crime. I frankly see it as a crime against society, a crime against democracy. I mean, you're basically taking the vote out of one of your fellow citizens. And so I do think it reaches the felony level. Many prosecutors disagree with me, but I stand firm that, look, this has more of an impact than just one victim. It impacts our entire society, and there should be consequences.
It's been 2 weeks now since we found out about the DMV problem in New Jersey. What can you tell us? Has anything been done with regard to what Mikey Sherrill admitted? Of course, it wasn't her fault, we understand, with respect to those who were automatically registered to vote when getting a driver's license, but were not able to vote because they were here illegally.
Well, I still think New Jersey's feeling the impact of that crisis there.
In what way, Don? In what
Well,
way?
I just saw today that the governor was asked whether or not she would support a voter ID law, and of course she said yes, I think I would. And now, so a Republican legislator is placing that before the New Jersey legislature, and of course, I predict it will probably fail and fail, dramatically. But it's interesting how politicians, you saw this with the senators in Virginia, they're afraid to admit that they don't have voter ID and citizenship verification. They really are. They know how bad it is. But when the brass, when it comes down to it, I'm
Right.
afraid afraid the progressive legislators are going to defeat that, in the legislature.
I'm not sure if you heard that the situation with regard to Maricopa County, that Rudy Giuliani was jumping up and down last night saying, "I told you so, I told you so." But there are a lot of people who saw and experienced and had evidence of what was going on in Maricopa County, and they were called conspiracy theorists.
Well, these are some fundamental problems with the voter registration system. I mean, the Congress has the potential now to fix the problem.
Right.
They can provide funds to make sure our voter registration systems are secure and accurate. It's really what needs to be done.
Don, thank you so much for coming on with us this morning. I know you had a little problem signing on earlier, but I'm glad we could get you on so we could talk about this. And again, my friends, there's a link to the story in the Epoch Times this morning with regard to what's going on in Maricopa County. And I guess at this point we could just say we told you so, right, Don?
That's right. That's right.
Don, thank you so much. Have a good weekend. We appreciate you coming back on Your News Talk America on our digital interactive Friday broadcast.
Thank you, Jake, for having me.
All right, thank you. You're listening to Your News Talk America. We're going to take a quick break and then back here to DS2 in just a moment. Stay with us.
Here's a look at your Delmarva forecast. Mainly sunny skies this afternoon with daytime highs approaching 92. Winds out of the southwest, 8 to 15 miles per hour. Partly cloudy skies tonight. Chance of thunderstorms. Lows level off around 76. Slight chance of thunderstorms tomorrow. Daytime highs approaching 93, mainly clear. I'm meteorologist Paul Trombley from the Talk of Delmarva Weather Center along the coast. Right now, it's 88 degrees.
Salute the troops with 92.7 and 98.5 WGMD.
This 11 a.m. Wellness Minute is locally brought to you by Pam Health Rehabilitation Hospitals. Recovery doesn't end when the hospital stay does. That's why Pam Health offers specialized support groups for individuals recovering from stroke, brain injury, or amputation, and for the families who walk that journey beside them. Their support groups offer a strong, understanding community, both in person and virtually, where you can share experiences, ask questions, and receive real support and advice from those who've been there. As one member said, "The doctors and therapists helped me recover my body. The support group helped me recover myself." To learn more, visit pamhealth.com. That's pamhealth.com.
I'm Dr. Mike Katz, the Delaware Republican Party endorsed candidate for United States Senate. For 30 years, Delaware families have trusted me as a pediatric critical care anesthesiologist and small business owner to make difficult decisions when every second mattered. I'm running for the United States Senate to continue that commitment to service by protecting the Sussex County way of life, standing with our farmers, defending our Second Amendment rights, and always putting Delaware first. I'd be honored to earn your trust and your vote in the Republican primary on September 15th. I'm Dr. Mike Katz, and I approve this message.
Tune in this Monday afternoon after the 4:30 news as WGMD's featured guest will be Jim Fritz of All American Mortgage, specializing in reverse mortgages and keeping you up to speed with Delmarva's ever-changing housing market this Monday afternoon after the 4:30 news.
Views and opinions expressed are those of the hosts, callers, and guests, and not necessarily the staff, management, ownership, advertisers, or sponsors of WGMD.
Broadcasting from the Mike Car Care Center studio. It's Your News Talk America.
on 92.7 WGMD. The Talk of Delmarva.
Here is the marine forecast from the Talk of Delmarva Weather Center. Sunny today with highs topping out near 89 degrees. And on the water, south-southwest winds 5 to 15 knots, higher gusts possible, seas 2 to 3 feet. The current water temperature is 75 degrees. At Cambridge, high tide 10:58 a.m., low tide 5:29 p.m., high tide 12:09 a.m. And at Rehoboth Beach, low tide 8:48 a.m., high tide 3:32 p.m., low tide 9:59 p.m.
Hi, this is the Rehoboth Foodie. Join me on Saturday afternoons from 2 to 4 on WGMD 92.7, the talk, or rather, the food of Delmarva.
This WGMD Fox Business Update is brought to you by Sussex Environmental Consultants. For a healthy home, call 302-947-1810.
I'm Jerry Willis, and this is the Fox Business Report. Stocks are higher with anticipation the Federal Reserve can hold off on raising interest rates after the U.S. economy lost 23,000 jobs in July, though the unemployment rate declined to 4.1%. White House Economic Council Director Kevin Hassett says the job creation numbers were skewed by some schools remaining open longer because of snow days earlier in the year, which pushed school layoffs into July, resulting in 50,000 fewer government jobs, though also job creation in May and June was revised lower. Wendy's reported a disappointing quarter. Sales declined and it's cutting its dividend, though shares turned higher after its CEO Bob Wright said he returned to the company because he believes he can fix Wendy's issues. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Coselda. Invested in you.
You're probably listening to this in your car, so let me ask you, would you drive without insurance? Of course not. So why is your retirement portfolio unprotected? Gold is portfolio insurance. It helps de-risk your savings when markets get unpredictable. Noble Gold Investments has helped thousands of Americans do exactly that, with no high-pressure sales and thousands of 5-star reviews. Visit NobleGoldInvestments.com. That's NobleGoldInvestments.com. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals involves risk. Consult with your tax or financial professional before making any investment decisions.
Broadcasting from the Monty Car Care Center studio. It's your News Talk America on 92.7 WGMD. The Talk of Delmarva.
In Arizona or in California, IA, the People's Republic. But he says, thank you for your time with the rabbi. I'm very confused by all the Jewish sects. The Christian Bible orders us to stand with Israel. However, the Rothschilds are said to be Jews and Hitler was of their bloodline. How do Christians discern? Wow. I can only tell you what I do, Truck and Curmudgeon, and that is I believe that the Jewish people are God's chosen people. That is not for me to that is not for me to judge. God has said they are His chosen people, and that's the way I try to choose them, treat them. And I just think that if we treat them as God's chosen people, God obviously knew that the Jews were people that have disappointed Him over the centuries. I was just reading the Old Testament last night, and it's obvious. It was obvious that the Jews many times were given wonderful gifts from God and then disappointed God along the way. And time has a role in what happens. But as far as I'm concerned, if they're God's chosen people, that's all I really need, and I will continue to treat them such as they should be treated. So there you go. That's my answer. I hope it is an answer that's acceptable to you, Truck and Curmudgeon. So let's get to our next panelist, and I want to welcome him in. His name is Wilk Wilkinson, leadership coach, podcast producer, to Rate the Hate podcast, and representing the Pro-Human Foundation. Just a little while ago, I had Rabbi Michael Barclay from Los Angeles on the program, Wilk. We were talking about the accelerated pace that we're seeing Jewish hatred across the country. It's not even anti-Semitism anymore. It's pure Jewish hatred. And what we need to do as a country to stop it, because we have religious freedom in this country, and what's happening now to me is just very scary and reminiscent of 1938 Berlin. So I'm wondering, at the Pro-Human Foundation, has the Jewish hatred been something that you focused on? Tell us about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think this is something, Jake, that we all as Americans, Pro-Human Foundation, and everybody, far and wide, shore to shore, need to be thinking about, is the disdain and contempt with which people are being treated. The Jewish people, especially right now, it's unlike anything that I've seen in my 50 years. And yeah, I mean, I think from a pro-human standpoint, people need to step back and take a look at who we are as human beings. Not just as the Jewish people, not just as Americans, but as human beings, and start to look at what is that shared humanity that we all have, and stop trying to place people in these buckets based on their immutable characteristics, and then just hate those people that they don't even know.
Right. I mean, what group do you belong to? I mean, isn't that really what we've become as a nation? You belong to a group, and I want to know what that group is, because I probably want nothing to do with you because it's not my group. Did I say that right?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think you did, and I think that we see that far too often right now, Jake, is people place people in these buckets based on immutable characteristics or some characteristic that they don't particularly like, and then it's just a matter of us versus them. And us versus them tribalism, in my opinion, is the only true existential threat that we face as a nation. So, Jake, we need to start getting the message out there that hate has no place in this country. Hate has no place in humanity. If we want to succeed and thrive as a human population, we have to figure out a way to work together, because we don't have any other place to go.
That's true. Not unless we colonize Mars and we want to send some people to Mars. That's possible, I guess, right?
Well, they're working on it.
That is true. So the Pro-Human Foundation, how did it begin? The website is fantastic, my friends. Take a look at it right now, prohumanfoundation.org, prohumanfoundation.org. How did it all get off the ground?
So Pro-Human Foundation started a couple years ago. The great Daryl Davis, who people might know, he's a race relations superhero, got together with Brian Bartning and Letitia Kim. People might know these names from the organization that they once were with, Foundation Against Intolerance and Racism. But they came together with this Pro-Human Foundation organization to step into this realm of educating folks. There's a lot of curriculum and programs associated with teaching the younger generations how and what our shared humanity is, how we work together in a pro-human way to make the world a better place. I've sat on the board of advisors there since almost the very beginning. And it's been a real honor working with Daryl, who I consider to be a dear friend, Brian, Letitia, and then Lori Warren as their executive director. But it's really about talking about the idea that we are all unique individuals and we have our unique attributes, but we all have our shared humanity. And how do we work together, not in spite of our differences, but many times because of our differences? And how does that make the world a better place?
And think about what we're missing, because we have isolated ourselves from people we don't agree with, but that offer a great deal to humanity, and yet we're not connecting with those people anymore. We're not talking with people that we could learn something from. Perhaps we will never agree with them, but they offer something. And that's what it was seen to me. That's what the human aspect of this that we're missing today. By segregating and chopping society into all these different pieces that you may fit in or you may not fit in, and if you don't fit in there, then you have to fit in over here. We're missing interaction with people that we may not agree with, but perhaps could offer something that we would recognize as something simply human, right?
No, that's absolutely right. I mean, when we start to silo ourselves from people we disagree with, Jake, there's a whole lot that we're missing out on. And one of the greatest lines that I've heard from one of my greatest friends, Monica Guzman, who wrote the book I Never Thought of It This Way, is those who are underrepresented in our lives will be overrepresented in our minds and our imaginations. And what happens, Jake, is when those people are people that we are fairly certain that we disagree with, we will begin to caricature those people as the worst things imaginable. And we will turn them into some kind of monster.
And you don't even know those people. You don't even know those people.
That's right. One of Daryl Davis's greatest lines is, "How can you hate me when you don't even know me?" You know, like I said, this guy's a race relations superhero. He's actually sat down. He's a very boisterous and beautiful black man who has sat down with the likes of KKK and Grand Wizards and heads of the neo-Nazis, and he's actually received the robes as they have stepped away from that lifestyle of hate.
Wow,
and
how
he's
about
an incredible
that,
human
Wilt?
being, Daryl Davis. If you haven't read or seen him, you've got to look him up. Daryl Davis is one of the most incredible human beings I've had the opportunity to spend time with in my life. Part of the Pro Human Foundation, but the reality is how can you hate me when you don't even know me? That's the big thing. People have turned those people that they disagree with into the worst caricatures that they can imagine based on things that they probably don't fully understand. And it's not the way we live. It's not the way that we thrive. And it's not the way that this country is going to succeed.
You know, here's an interesting aspect of what the way things are today, which is much different than when I grew up back in the 50s and 60s, is neighborhoods per se. And I have a new house that's being built next door to me. And the people haven't even moved in yet. They haven't even met my wife and I, and they put up this big, giant white fence around their house, which means sends a message to me is we don't want anything to do with you. So we're putting up a fence. We don't even want to look at you. We don't want to see you. And that is so much different than when I grew up, when neighbors were all pretty much friends with one another. We hung out together. Our parents hung out together. Today, people put up fences, and they put up a very distinct fence because they're sending a message that we don't want to be bothered with you. We just leave us alone. And that has become the norm in America, hasn't it, Wilt?
Well, it's an unfortunate norm, and I think we need to start working our way back to those times that you and I remember, Jake, from when we were kids, when neighborhoods would come together for block parties or bonfires in the cul-de-sac, and barbecues where people are all coming together, and somebody brings the potato salad, and somebody brings the music, somebody brings the barbecue. These things, we've fallen into a world where we have this faux interaction online as opposed to real life interaction where we're getting together with our neighbors. We need to work our way back into this courageous citizenship where we step outside of our comfort zone and actually work together across differences, come together in real life, work together across differences to make things happen. But we aren't going to make that happen online. We got to do it in real life. Those big white fences are probably not going to get it done.
No, that is exactly right. Now, our Digital Interactive Board has a question for you from our listener producer, Wolf, Meineke, doing car care right, courtesy of them. And he said, will it take a new post-political paradigm shift to unite the country? What do you think, Will?
Well, a paradigm shift is absolutely needed. And what we've seen is far too many people have made their political identity part of their core identity. A post-political world, I don't think we're going to see that, but a post-partisan world is probably something that we absolutely need. Our founders very much were not in favor of political factions. George Washington talked about it in his farewell address.
Yep.
The political factions that we see today, especially Democrats, Republicans, liberals, conservatives, however you want to label it, has turned into an us versus them tribalism, the likes of that we have not seen in this country, in 100 and some years, right? And it's not getting any better. So
no, it's getting worse. It's getting worse.
Yeah, it's absolutely getting worse. So that us versus them tribalism will be our undoing if we don't find that paradigm shift that's needed. It's something that I work on with the organization Braver Angels. It's something I work on with my podcast. And
I wanted to get to that. Tell us about your podcast, Derate the Hate.
Yeah, Derate the Hate podcast has been around since early 2020. It started as an avenue for me to talk about some of my mindset shifts, some of my paradigm shifts, and things that I had done. But then I started working into the political polarization, toxic polarization space in 2021 when Braver Angels approached me to come on the podcast. And I've been with that organization as a volunteer and staff member ever since, recognizing that this us versus them tribalism is the one thing that's ensuring that the major things that we need to do as a country are not getting done. So the Derate the Hate podcast, it's all about bettering the world one attitude at a time, but it's also about bringing together people from across differences, across political differences, cultural differences, any kind of difference, bridging that divide and building together, which is something that we call courageous citizenship at Braver Angels.
Wilt, how can we listen to the podcast? How can we get access to it?
The Derate the Hate podcast can be found on any major podcast platform that you can imagine. You can also go to deratethehate.com, derate as in like derate an engine, derate a microphone, deratethehate.com, and you can find all the ways to find us there.
Wilt Wilkinson, leadership coach, podcast producer, Derate the Hate podcast, and a member of the Pro-Human Foundation, prohumanfoundation.org. Wilt, you brought up some very good points today. Let's see if all of us listening today can put them into action in our daily lives. That's what it's all about.
Thank you so much, Jake.
All right, thank you. You're listening to Your News Talk America. Salute the Troops coming up in just a moment. Please stay with us.
Here's a look at your Delmarva forecast. Daytime highs approaching 92 this afternoon under mainly sunny skies. Winds out of the southwest, 8 to 15 miles per hour. Partly cloudy skies tonight. Chance of thunderstorms. Lows level off around 76. Mainly sunny skies tomorrow. Slight chance of thunderstorms. High temperatures reach up to 93. I'm meteorologist Paul Trombley from the Talk of Delmarva Weather Center, inland. Currently, it's 88 degrees.
The Talk of Delmarva Radio Flea Market, Saturday morning at 10 on The Talk of Delmarva. Jake Smith, mid-mornings on WGMD.
Celebrate the people and places that keep Worcester County growing during Maryland's Coast Agriculture Appreciation Week. Hi there, it's Mike Bradley. Now, this runs August 1st through the 9th. Hosted by Worcester County Tourism and Economic Development, this county-wide celebration features farm tours, family activities, local markets, demonstrations, and hands-on experiences. You can view the full schedule at visitmarylandscoast.org. That's visitmarylandscoast.org. Maryland's Coast, naturally cool.
Spell tree and complete tree care.
LAWN Lawn.
What? Spell tree and complete tree care.
LAWN Lawn.
What? Yes, Complete Lawn Care is ready to complete all of your lawn maintenance and landscaping projects, freshening up your landscaping with new mulch, complete spring cleanups, leaf removal, mowing, seeding, sod, and pavers. We are complete. Complete Tree Care and
Complete Lawn Care.
302-947-2273.
Hi, I'm Tim, and I'm a principal with Giuliani Associates. A building can look impressive, but if it doesn't work, it costs you every day. Customer flow, staff efficiency, operational performance. We design commercial facilities that are built to work and built to grow with your business. As Delmarva expands, your building should support what's next. Giuliani Associates. Architecture is an investment. Design a better Delmarva.com. Design a better Delmarva.com.
There are now two ways for you to list items on the Talk of Delmarva Radio Flea Market. You can call in Saturday mornings between 10 and 11 a.m. Or you can now fill out Talk of Delmarva Radio Flea Market, talkofdelmarva.com.
To honor those men and women who have defended freedom whenever and wherever it was threatened, the Talk of Delmarva presents Salute the Troops.
Salute the Troops remembers with honor United States Army Chief Warrant Officer 2, David Nadel, who died on November 20th, 2019, in a helicopter crash in Afghanistan's Logar province at the age of 33. Nadel hailed from Tarrant, Texas. He was providing security for troops on the ground. Also killed in the crash was Chief Warrant Officer 2, Kirk Fukigami Jr. Both soldiers were assigned to 1st Battalion, 227th Aviation Regiment, 1st Air Cavalry Brigade, 1st Cavalry Division, based out of Fort Hood, Texas. David Nadel joined the Army as an active duty soldier in April 2013 and was subsequently assigned to 1st Battalion, 227th Aviation Regiment in April 2015. Nadel deployed to Afghanistan in October 2019 and served in the U.S. Army as an Apache helicopter pilot. His awards and decorations included the Bronze Star, Air Medal, and Achievement Medal. Salute the Troops honors the ultimate sacrifice in Afghanistan of United States Army Chief Warrant Officer 2, David Nadel. If not for Nadel's commitment to serve our nation, fighting the war on terror in Afghanistan, this nation could not, this nation would never have remained free. May this grateful nation never forget the ultimate sacrifice of Chief Warrant Officer 2, David Nadel. Salute the Troops would like to acknowledge the Military Times for their contribution in the production of this Salute the Troops segment. For Salute the Troops, I'm Jake Smith.
As a family member or friend, you may be the first to notice when a veteran you love has been going through changes. Things like withdrawing, drinking more, or increased anger could be a sign of a larger health concern. But help is available. Listen to hundreds of inspiring stories at MakeTheConnection.net and learn how you can support the veterans in your life. Treatment works. Recovery is possible.
Broadcasting from the Meineke Car Care Center studio. It's your News Talk America on 92.7 WGMT. The Talk of Delmarva.
Digital Interactive Friday continues on Your News Talk America, your home for freedom, liberty, and of course, the truth. My friends, we've got a couple of minutes, and I wanted to just tell you about something that I saw on X today, and it came from John Solomon. And let me go back here because for some reason X has already brought me out of what I wanted to read. Here it is. In case you hadn't noticed or didn't hear, John Solomon is doing some investigative work at the White House. He's been given access to some materials. Now, I believe that this has to do with the investigation that Joe DeGenova has come out of retirement and is down at the U.S. Attorney's Office working in Florida. There are still some very important investigations going on. I know we're sick of hearing the word investigations. And by the way, Anthony Fauci is not going to prison. I'm sorry to have to tell you that, my friends. He's not. It's just not going to happen. As much as I would like to see the old Fauchmeister wearing a prison jumpsuit and smashing rocks, big rocks into little rocks, it's just not going to happen. However, this is from John Solomon last night. And as I mentioned, John Solomon has been given, he's doing work at the White House. Now, am I saying that something big is coming down? I'm not saying that at all. But there are some very quiet, high-level investigations going on right now. And as you know, John Solomon is the political investigator in this country today. There is none better. There is none sharper than John Solomon. So let me get to this and tell you, and this has to do, again, with the theft of the 2020 election and the coup d'etat that took place, which stole President Trump's second term. Now, having said that, I said before, those 4 years gave Donald Trump the time that he needed to prepare for what's going on in the country and the world right now. Everything happens for a reason. I believe God chose him and prepared him for this role, and it would not have happened if he would have won a second consecutive re-election. However, it doesn't change what happened to steal the presidency from him. John Solomon writes, quote, treason at the highest level. What the entire media is too terrified to admit. The single greatest intrusion on our elections over the last 6 years was not foreign. It came from the FBI and the CIA. They didn't just put a thumb on the scale, they put their entire damn body on it. This is the ultimate betrayal of the American people. This is election interference from inside the House. Well, we're going to find out more about that, my friends, and it is coming. Now, are we going to see people being charged with treason and hauled off to military courts and something? I don't know. Are we going to get to the bottom of what happened in 2020? I think it's coming. I think the administration is being very careful, very deliberate, very quiet about it, and then something will come out just like President Trump a couple of weeks ago spoke about China's involvement. According to John Solomon, the treason that took place is much worse than what happened here in the United States with regard to the FBI and James Comey and the CIA and what they were able to do to sway the election to Joe Biden. It's happened. The media was part of it as well. Now, of course, we're going to be called by the No Kings people conspiracy theorists. But the fact of the matter is, my friends, this happened. We know the election was stolen from President Trump. Did he benefit from those 4 years preparing and watching and learning who was on his side, who he could trust and who he couldn't trust? Yes, absolutely. There's no question about it. God works in mysterious ways, and I believe that's why this happened. But it doesn't mean we should allow it to happen again. It doesn't mean that the FBI and the CIA were not involved in stealing the 2020 election, and why they were not involved on January 6th, 2021. We know they were. Christopher Wright, the head of the FBI, he certainly has a lot of explaining to do. That is for sure. But Eric says X is full of AI-generated junk, so be careful. Well, this is John Solomon's actual broadcast, just the news. So, yes, you're right. AI, there is AI-generated junk, so we have to be careful. No question about that. I do not believe this is one of them, Eric. Otherwise, I would not have spoken about it this morning here on Your News Talk America. Eric also follows up, there is no doubt about that, but what happens next? Well, yes, Eric said they wanted him dead, period. They still want him dead. There are still forces that are trying to kill Donald Trump, my friends. What are they afraid of? He's only got 2 more years in office left. Well, I believe, and this is my belief, I believe that Donald Trump's presidency right now, these 4 years that we're in right now, is not about short-term fixes for the United States. It's all about long-term fixes. And we're not going to recognize till years later what Trump did to save the republic, because he'll be out of office for quite some time before we realized what Trump did, what he did to bring peace to the Middle East, bringing Middle East countries together, the Abraham Accords. All of those things are set up not for immediate satisfaction here at home, but for the long-term security of the world. And we're not going to recognize that perhaps for generations. But he is doing it, and it is happening. We may not agree with his methods. I certainly don't agree with how he has basically pulled back from disintegrating the IRGC. But you know what? He perhaps knows things that most of us don't. However, Vanessa says, agree on Trump's legacy. Eric says, correct you are, Jake. Well, I think, again, we're just going to have to wait. My friends, have a great weekend. See you Monday.
I'm Carmen Roberts, Fox News. A Senate vote on President Trump's